ora si registrerà la conferenza.
I see also the colleagues from Public Employment Service Moldova have joined. Welcome. Do you hear me well, all? Anna, is the sound okay?
Yes, I hear you really well. Our participants as well.
Okay, very good. So, welcome everybody. We have 29 participants, and let us start. As always, a couple of participants will join in a few minutes, but we can already start with the introductory part. So my name is Eduarda Castelbranco. I represent the European Training Foundation and am coordinating this project on big data for labor market information. We welcome you at this first webinar of the project Big Data for Labor Market Information, developing the system for real-time analysis of skills demand based on data from online job vacancies. For stability of our connection, please, could you switch off your microphones and a bit later also your cameras? And at the end of the webinar, we will all switch on again cameras and microphones to see each other. Thank you. As you can see on this first slide of this introductory, very short presentation, it is 23 years since a reigning world chess champion for the first time lost a game with a computer, the Deep Blue. A surprising and defining moment, asserting the path to growing computing power and artificial intelligence. But one of the learnings of that event is that there are different ways to solve problems, where innovation is the most important ingredient. Colleagues, please switch off your microphones now. Thank you. We will have time to speak later. We are very honored and pleased to be together again. The Make It Match network of Eastern Partnership and a few new friends from other institutions and parts of the world. So today we see here Armenia, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Georgia, Moldova, and Ukraine. And we also have, of course, participants from Tunisia and other countries in Africa. And naturally, we have also our colleagues from European Training Foundation, connecting from Turin. I'm connecting from Brussels. Last time we met in Milan. It was in June and then November 2019. Milan, now re-emerging from this devastating coronavirus pandemic. But the Milanese researchers, data scientists and data engineers who are partnering with ETF for this project are here with us, and the work goes on. Our colleagues represent the University Milano Bicocca, its research center, CRISP, and Tabulex. Welcome, colleagues. Let us say a few words very briefly on the working methodology. Let me go back to the previous slide because it's a very important, we have there a very important note on data protection and privacy policy. So as you know, this webinar is being recorded. So you received all with the invitation data protection and privacy information. And we would like to just recall that if you do not want to be recorded, please inform us and switch off your microphone and camera during the event. Let us also recall that as in any webinar, we can always encounter some technical challenges, such as slow internet connection, the use of functionalities, but we are all learning and improving. So just a couple of guidelines on your screen: mute your microphone when not speaking. This is very important for the stability of the connection. A very important point for the interaction on the thematic content and to satisfy your information needs, please use the chat box. Write down your questions and comments directly in the chat box throughout this event. In session 7, the last, we will have some time to reply to your questions and comments. My colleagues, Sylvia, Anna, and Alina are collecting all your comments and systematizing them in a PowerPoint presentation to guide us in session 7. So please, the most important way to interact with the speakers and write is writing down your questions in the chat box. Let us now have a quick view of our journey so far in this project. So purposefully, ETF started by the knowledge and methodological side, systematizing in an accessible handbook the key elements and technological requirements of the approach, and illustrating it with numerous cases and examples. We then started activities to develop capacities, from information and dissemination to training. In parallel, the first steps into practical application were started with the feasibility analysis Tunisia and Morocco, focused on landscaping and ranking of online job vacancy sources. And today, here we are at the stage of full development of the system for data harvesting, classification, analysis, and visualization. Big data for labor market information is about innovation and change, and is meant to work in complementarity with statistical surveys and conventional data sources and analysis, not replace but work in complementarity. Most of you have been involved in previous workshops of the project in 2019, but allow me to recall just a few brief points. First, the rise of the big data era was prompted by the combination of three main factors. First, a torrent of data availability. Second, growing computational power. And third, advances in artificial intelligence. Big data is characterized by volume, velocity, variety, veracity, and value. Big data differs from conventional established approaches because it is essentially data-driven. It is bottom-up and inductive. The logical sequence is from data to confirmation, to observation, to hypothesis, and to theory. At this workshop, we will learn on the progress in our project and its preliminary first results. So we have a total of 5 substantial sessions and 1 session for questions and answers, as already said, and as you have seen on the agenda you received. We will speak on the system that is in construction for analysis, the data, sources, the issues, then the classification of data and interpretation of results. Let me underline classification and classifiers, very important. And then cases, uses of real-time labor market information based on Italy data. Also here, a quick overview on the dimensions of analysis based on a system of online job vacancies. These are the types of analysis that we can do based on this approach. First, skills demand. This is the fundamental notion to be considered. Skills, demand, identification, analysis, assessment. Skills rates by occupation. Emerging skills and changing skills mix. Understanding the landscape of online job vacancy sources. Drivers, users, the scope. Then sharpening the policy questions that can be explored, answered. And finally, exploring the combination of online job vacancy analysis with other sources for labor market information, namely statistical surveys. And now to finalize, a very brief snapshot on the project in its 2020 phase, which we are calling moving ahead. First, the methodological process, the scheme of the methodological process for data collection and analysis, from harvesting the OJV, online job vacancy data, to visualization and presentation area. And Alessandro will soon tell us more about this. Second, the timeline 2020 started with the data ingestion. Then we will have a first data release in June, a second later in December, the system itself and visualization area in June, 2 analytical reports in December, and throughout the process, several workshops and webinars. Then you are all interested about the variables of analysis that are possible through this approach. And here they are, these variables. They are occupation, skill, education level, experience, industry or sector, contract type, place, location, and others as well. And finally, our 2 countries in this pilot practical application phase, the moving ahead phase, Tunisia and Ukraine. Thank you very much, and let us now very directly move to sessions 2 and 3. So until 14:45, Alessandro Vaccarino, who is our main data engineering of the project team, will be and working closely with Uni Milano Bicocca and Tabulex, will guide us, will lead us through 2 main topics in 2 sessions interconnected. So session 2 focuses on the system for data collection and analysis, and Alessandro will recall the methodological underpinnings of the system in construction. This is important for all those who have not been very much involved in the previous conversations and workshops. And then session 3, right after, we'll look directly at the data. So Alessandro will show us the state of play of data collection, classification, and analysis using the current version of the data dashboard. Thank you, Alessandro, over to you until 2:45. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Eduarda. Hi all, welcome to this webinar. As said, my name is Alessandro. I'm working on this project, and today I'm here in this session to present you the methodological path that we are following in analyzing online job vacancies, so big data, to obtain value regarding labor market, or as we say, labor market intelligence. What's the goal of our work? The goal is to transform those online job vacancies, so web pages, to this, to value, so to data that can help us better understand how labor market is evolving. So let's start from our methodological path that follows, as Eduardo already said, this schema. So we're talking about KD, knowledge discovery databases. And this methodological path is structured in 3 main topics. The ingestion, of course, we have to collect data. We have to collect online job vacancies from the web. So we have to know how to collect them, how to preserve quality, how to find the most available online job vacancies on the web, and so on. Then we have to prepare data because, as said, we are talking about web pages. We cannot analyze web pages. We cannot directly extract information from a web page. So what we have to do? We have to transform web pages in data. So we can extract information from that data and transform it to value. And the transformation from web pages, so raw text, to information is built on two main steps. First of all, we have to pre-process data to ensure quality of what we are collecting. So avoid collecting web pages not related to large job vacancies, deduplicate them. As you know, a company can publish an online job vacancy on several websites. We have to detect that a single large job vacancy is duplicate on several websites, and we have to deduplicate, and if possible, to merge information relating to the same large job vacancy. And then the heart of the system, we can say, is the information extraction, because once our web pages are put in quality, we are talking about web pages. Okay, online job vacancies, but they are raw web pages. We have to structure them, and we have to develop a system that can read this online job vacancy, this web page, and extract the information variables that Eduardo presented you. So the system has to extract, for instance, the occupation, has to extract skills, has to extract the place where the vacancy is located, the contract offered, and so on. And we have to find, first of all, a taxonomy to link, because we can talk about a single profession in many, many ways. We can go deeper, so we can split a single occupation on several terms, or we should want something more aggregated to enable several analyses widespread all over the occupation. So we have to find, first of all, taxonomies, the right taxonomy to classify a single dimension, and then we have to develop a system that can extract this information and link it to the taxonomy. After this, what we have? We have structured data. So we are able to analyze them, and then we can load those information and analyze them in several ways. I will not talk about this in this section because we have two sessions dedicated on this. The first one, the next session, I will present you the draft outcome of the work that we're proceeding, we're going on with the ETF and with the colleagues from Tunisia and Ukraine. And then with Professor Mezzanzanica and Professor Mercorio from CRISP Research Center of University of Milano Bicocca, we will present you three analytical cases, three use cases regarding the COVID pandemic in Italy, the evolution of ICT skills, the ICT market in Italy, and then a use case regarding the educational world, so universities and training providers. But let's go on with the ingestion, because I told so much, but we don't have data now. We have to collect them. How we can do it? We want to extract information, and we can find this kind of information, knowledge of vacancies, on several kind of websites or sources, national or international portals, sector-specific or sector-generic portals, company websites, newspaper, aggregators, and so on. So which kind of portals, which kind of sources we have to select? How we can find the most appropriate sources, and how we can rank them to find the most valuable? We can do it using a methodology proposed by CRISP Research Center that for each source that we can identify on a single country, assign a score based on several dimensions that we can briefly describe as the importance, the relevance of the single source in the country, and we can have several proxies of relevance. We can talk about the page rank on Google, that could be seen as a proxy of usage, or the number of knowledge of vacancies published, or the type of portal, maybe some international portals and so on. and other dimensions regarding the quality, the properness of data that we can extract from those sources. And in this case, I will talk a bit deeper about this in the next slides. We are talking about the kind of information that we can find, because it's quite different for us, for human people, but also for Ivory, to read a simply raw page where all the dimensions are written in free text, and read a web page where information are semi-structured. What I mean? I mean that I can find a portion of a web page where the employer has written where the Online Job Vacancies is published, or which sector the employer is looking for a professionist, and so on. So we're talking of web pages that are quite well structured, so we can detect some portion of the pages. And those kind of information are all analyzed and put inside a unique ranking system that, based on those information, can give us a rank on the most relevant and the most important, the most valuable source in a country. So we made this kind of ranking. We shared this ranking system with our experts, so experts from Tunisia and from Ukraine. They helped us validating this landscaping activity and also adding us several portals that we missed, or maybe we extract, but we thought, okay, maybe those portals are not so relevant, but they helped us because, of course, we are well more focused on the specific country labor market. And so what we obtained was a list, a rank of sources. And now we have to work on those sourcing and extract information. So starting from the web page, as you can see on the left, we have to extract the title that we can say, okay, maybe the title, the employer will specify which kind of occupation he's looking for with natural language, or the location, the deadline of application, and the description of the vacancy, and so on. So we have to extract those information as much structure as possible in this phase, and then pass those information to the processing step. How we can do it? We want to focus on volumes, and we want to focus on coverage, augmentation, and maximization. Why? Because, as you know, currently we are working about web portals. So we don't know if those portals tomorrow, within a week or a month, will be alive. Maybe a portal could break down, or the company that are leading the web portal could close, and so on. And we don't want this kind of variable affect the quality of data that we are analyzing. Of course, let me propose an example. If I collect data from a single web vacancy, or a couple, or from a single web portal, or a couple of web portals, and one of them broke down, block us, or changes kind of business, I should expose a decrease of the ledger of vacancies published for a specific country. And this kind of information is not a quality, information quality, because we are not talking about online job vacancies, web labor market in a specific country, but we're simply talking about a single source that's closing. And it's not good, of course. So what we want to do now is we want to collect as many knowledge of vacancies as we want. It's not a problem if we collect the same knowledge of vacancies from several sources. So if there is duplication, it's not a problem. On the other hand, we want to do it because we want to maximize the coverage. We want to have a backup source for our knowledge of vacancy. And we also want to maximize, as well as we can, the quality of data collected. And how we do it? We use a tailored approach. We want to maximize efficiency. So we use polite ingestion policies. We don't want to overload a portal, a web portal, and broke it down, because if we broke down a portal, we could not have those data. So if possible, we prefer to collect data during night when possible, and so on. We extract specific attributes then available, as I said before. So if we can extract the specific attribute during ingestion phase, is preferred because it would increase quality of data collected. And also we wanted to have a system that can scale when needed. So we need to be fast adding new sources. We need to be fast to fix those sources. They change their structure, break down, and so on. Because we want to avoid, as said, that a technical issue could affect the value of data that you are producing. So those are the goals of data ingestion phase. And then we can start with pre-processing. What's the goal, as I said, of pre-processing? We want to reduce noise. We want to reduce web pages that we collected from portals but are not related to Online Job Vacancy. So like social profile pages, policy pages, home pages, and so on. And we want also to detect fake vacancies. Several companies published on Online Job Vacancy portals fake vacancies. For instance, I could put as a title a software developer, but in the description I could write, okay, do you need a software developer? I could offer you a consultancy service, for instance, for your development purposes, and so on. We want to detect those fake vacancies so to increase quality of data that we are analyzing. And so we also need, as said, to deduplicate Online Job Vacancies to affect that duplicate pages and vacancies could decrease the quality or put untrustable numbers in the analysis that we will produce. So we use several approaches. Most of them are related, starts from a language detection phase, because we want to work on language-specific pipelines. Currently, we are working on all European languages, and during this project with ETF, we are also adding Ukrainian language, and we are trying to add Russian language. We want to reduce noise, as I said, and we want to deduplicate Online Job Vacancy. How we do it? We use several artificial intelligence techniques to make this. To clean data, we use several approaches. You can see them like email spam filters. So the system analyzes, reads the Online Job Vacancy web page and says, okay, this is a real Online Job Vacancy, or no, this is not Online Job Vacancy, this is something else. And so we can discard those page and keep only quality web pages. And then we can pass those information to information extraction phase. Information extraction aims to extract dimensions, variables. We're talking about, for instance, profession, place, sector, skills, time, and so on. How we do it? We do it, first of all, finding the most proper taxonomy. We decided to use ESCO taxonomy from European Union for occupation and skills. We are talking about more or less 400 different professions at ESCO level 4. We will see some examples in the next showcase. And we were using NATS or ISO 3166 for place, NACE for sector, ISHED for educational level, and so on. As I said, what's the goal of this strategy, of this decision? The goal is to give analysts data that are classified with respect to a specific taxonomy, to give you certainly data. So you know that if you are analyzing occupation, you could have up to 400 distinct occupation, with each one with a specific description with its specific contextualization and so on. So you are not working on unbounded data and unbounded occupation terms, but with a specific perimeter of analysis. And how we can analyze and we can classify those kind of information? We use several approaches based on ontology-based models, where the ontology is derived from taxonomy that we have chosen in the previous phase. And we use those models to train several artificial intelligence systems that, as said before, can read the title, the description, and so on of a Online Job Vacancy, and as a human can do, it can see, okay, this Online Job Vacancy is talking about a project manager located in Portugal from manufacturing sector with a certain salary range, if available. The job vacancies was published 3 years ago, and so on. We extract all those information and we put all those information in a unique database, and we use it to provide you analysis, so use cases. And now it's time to show you the first use case that's coming from our ETF experience, ETF project. So how we can analyze and which kind of information we can extract analyzing Tunisian and Ukrainian online job vacancies. Eduardo, sorry, I see that there are some questions on the chat. Do we want to answer them now? Do we want to keep them for the final session?
Yes, please, Alessandro. Let's go on with the presentation, and we have session 7 dedicated to questions and answers.
Okay,
and my
great.
colleagues are collecting all the questions and comments so that we can then discuss them in a systematized manner in the last session. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you to Eduardo. Okay, so what you are seeing? You're seeing at a draft version of a dashboard created on top of data collected, put in quality, and classified, as I said, using our methodological pipeline regarding Ukrainian and Tunisian knowledge of vacancies. This phase started at the first days of March. So the first day of March, we started our ingestion phase. Of course, as you know, if today I go to an Online Job Vacancy portal and I look to all the Online Job Vacancies published, of course, I could also find Online Job Vacancies published in the previous month. And that's why you are seeing that there are some Online Job Vacancies published prior to the first days of March. Just a quick introduction. Those data, as I said, are in draft mode. Currently, we ended developing the first phase of our ingestion phase, but during March, that's the period under analysis now, we added during the month several scrapers, so several bots that are ingesting phase from Online Job Vacancies. So currently, the timeline, the historical series, is affected by the fact that we are in a ramp-up phase, so we are building the system. But this dashboard can give us an idea of what we are able to obtain starting from scratch in some months, using the collaboration of Eduardo, of Professor Mongi, and of Vladimir, that give us several feedbacks on the sources that we selected. So there is sources that we selected regarding web labor market. They gave us several feedbacks, and we started ingesting phase from those sources. We collected Online Job Vacancies. We collected 43,000 Online Job Vacancies from both the countries during the first month. Then we pass them to the deduplication and the quality layer that I presented you before, and we can extract at the end of this phase 29,000 unique job vacancies. And so those are the job vacancies that we can analyze and present you. Of course, we can split on the sourcing countries. So we're talking about a half of all job vacancies located in Ukraine and the other half in Tunisia. And so we can start our classification phase. Our classification phase, first of all, of course, can extract information about occupation. So which kind of profession down to ESCO at level 4 are mostly requested in a specific country, in a specific period, or in a specific location. Currently, you are not seeing a location because we are reprocessing this kind of information, but we, of course, we will release them as soon as possible. And so we can see is the kind of profession, the family, profession family, so ESCO level 1, or the detailed profession at ESCO level 4, mostly requested in both the country. And for each one of these professions, we can have an idea of a kind of working hours offered. So we are looking for a software developer in a full-time contract, part-time contract, or the time of working hours is not defined. And also the specific contract offered. So temporary contract, permanent contract, or self-employment contract. So of course, we can mix our dimension as we want. Now in this dashboard, I'm presenting you some examples, but of course we can mix those information also with time. So we can specify the period that we want to analyze, or the location that we prefer, and so on. So mixing those data, we can, for example, obtain also information about occupation and educational level dimension. So specifying, for instance, the occupation family at the ESCO level 1, we can obtain information about the kind of educational level required with respect to the issued classification and the experience required. So if, for instance, a technician and associate professional are mostly requested in junior profiles up to 1 year, from 2 to 4 years, or senior families, so for instance, from 6 to 8 years, over 10 years, and so on. So we can mix those dimensions. Another dimension that we can introduce with respect to NACE classification is the industry. So which kind of industries are looking for which kind of professions, for instance, or in which region, and so on. And so we can analyze industry starting from a very aggregated way, so agriculture, manufacturing, service, going down to the industry at the level 1, so few cases, few macro industries, down to a specific top 10 industries, in this case, that are looking for professions. Eduardo presented during the introduction skills, of course. We extract skills with respect to ESCO taxonomy, and we can link them to specific occupation, to specific region, to specific sector, and so on. In this case, what we are looking is the most requested profession in both the countries, with the specification of the most requested skills for the specific family. So, for instance, the most requested skills are split in knowledge, in personal qualities, in skills, and in tools and technologies. Of course, you can also merge those kind of data with other dimensions, such as the release date, so time. This is an example that we will show you later during the Italian Observatory of ICT skills, where we can analyze how skills are evolving for specific ICT professions in both ICT sector and non-ICT sector. So we can mix those kind of information with time. So evolution of skills, emerging skills, but also emerging occupation, and so on. Other example of information that we can extract are related to the company. So which companies are looking for professionals? So we can specify the specific company that you are interested in, and we can have a list of the most requested occupation in a certain period. Other kind of dimension that we can analyze are related, for instance, to the language. As we said, currently we are analyzing online job vacancies written in all European languages. We are currently adding Ukrainian and Russian. They are excluded from this analysis now, but we will add them the next month. And so, of course, we can also have a rough idea of which kind of language is used, and it could be seen as a proxy, for instance, of the fact that the company could be an international company or not. And of course, in this kind of information, we can also analyze where a knowledge of vacancy is published, for instance, on Ukrainian websites, but where the knowledge of vacancies is located. So, for instance, it could be located in the UK. So what we could know is that UK companies are looking for instance, software developers in Ukraine. And so we can extract, mixing those information, we can extract a really huge amount of information. The last action we are analyzing, currently we don't have location, but we could also analyze deeper the most present companies for each specific location, down, if available, to a specific municipality. I think I'm in time, so thank you very much all.
Thank you very much, Angelo, for the presentation. First, for the methodological insights, so how this is all done, and then concretely already the practical view of the data dashboard containing data collected in online job vacancies in the two countries, Tunisia and Ukraine, in the month of March. Thanks also for sharing the different associations of data that can be done through this visualization tool. And I see that some participants are already asking to share the link, but we are still working on the dashboard. So let us now then move already to the next part of our webinar. And it is now, we are going now to have two short sessions in which our national experts are going to present very briefly main findings of the web labor markets in Tunisia and Ukraine. Thanks Monji, first, Monji Bouzala, professor, academic and very well-known labor market researcher, a wide range of publications. Monji has been working with us on this project with this role of validation and critical oversight on the data that is being prepared and released on a, let's say, temporary intermediary status. So thank you very much, Monji. You have then 10 minutes for your presentation. And right after, we then pass the floor to Vladimir Saroglu, very well-known also researcher working on labor market forecast, labor market and skills forecast. Ukraine is going also to present the same topic, the web labor market in Ukraine. Let me just signal that we are not talking here about IT occupations, ITC occupations and skills, but the labor market online, so web labor market, online job vacancy portals, scope and trends. So thank you very much, Monji, for being here. You can share your screen and start. So you have 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Eduarda. It's my pleasure. Hello, everybody. I'm delighted to speak to you about the Tunisian case. The big data project is certainly very relevant for Tunisia because Tunisia has there is an urgent need for data and for tools to analyze the labor market. And let's can say some. Okay. And we have a problem with the demand for skills and with the mismatch, and there is a lack of data and information about vacancy. So, and but there is no problem with the internet. However, in Tunisia there is a problem with the legal framework because the public employment agency is so far the only one allowed to do business in this area, even though the private sector OGVs are flourishing and developing. Let me take these points very quickly. I said there is an urgent need for improved labor market demand analysis. First of all, because we don't have enough data, especially about labor demand and skill demand. The only systematically available data is data from manpower surveys, but we don't even have surveys about demand for labor. And we have some information, some data from the public employment agency, but it's not sufficient. And there is very limited analytical capacity for the labor market. And we know, in short, very little about the needs of firms and the market for different types of skills and different types of occupation. So this is coming right on time, and I hope it will work out very well. I said there is a low demand for labor combined with skill mismatch. We know, however, that the demand for skilled people is low compared to supply, and so as the unemployment rate is the highest for the skilled people, and especially for young skilled people, and more so for women who are skilled. And in Tunisia, 2/3 of the graduates are women, and it's a big issue. But we don't know very well why it's so. But we know that the supply of skilled labor is growing, and there are more and more graduates coming out of universities and colleges. So we do need to improve our analytical capacity. I said there is not enough demand for skills, but there is still a mismatch, which may sound contradictory. We know that a lot of firms, perhaps around 30% of them, complain about the lack of the right skills. I mean, not enough demand, but also, firms complain about the lack of the right skills. While there are low quality jobs, especially in the informal sector, but that's not what young people, especially the graduates, want. They often prefer to stay unemployed rather than taking them. Yeah, the informal sector is part of the problem in Tunisia. As I said earlier in the beginning, very shortly, that there is no problem with the internet. I don't mean that everybody is connected, but around 2/3 of the Tunisians are, and the majority do have mobile phones or smartphones, and most of them, about 2/3 of them, use them for the internet, and that's more true for women and especially for youth. About 90% of the youth are connected to the internet. So basically, we don't the internet use is not the impediment for the this big data project. As to firms, especially former firms, most of them are connected, even the private, not to speak of the public sector, which do have to be connected. As I mentioned in the beginning, there is the only major issue today is with the legal framework. You may be surprised to know that officially only the Public Employment Agency, which call it ANET, is allowed to recruit and to provide employment services. Private employment agencies are not allowed. Not only the agency has to be informed, I mean, all jobs, all recruitments have to be reported, but more than that, I mean, the private employment agencies are officially not allowed, which means that recruitment through private intermediaries is illegal. This is not normal because in practice, there is a growing number of private firms doing this job, and the private sector, I mean, OGVs are flourishing among with private sector agencies. So the reason is that the Public Employment Agency, which is ANET, and which is officially has the monopoly for this kind of services, does not have the sources and the resources to provide the services required. I don't mean it doesn't have anything, but it doesn't have enough. And above of that, actually firms don't have to employ only people suggested by ANET. They are free to employ whoever they want. So there is something wrong in the system. This agency is trying to do better. It has a digitized system and it's improving it. It has a quite well-established database, but for the moment, it's not able to provide all the services. And at the same time, the private sector employment agency are not in a regular legal situation. Nevertheless, as I said, their number is increasing and they're flourishing. Why is it so? Because obviously, because a lot of large firms, especially modern firms, prefer to deal with them and rather than with ANET, which is not always efficient and does not have the capacities to do the profiling, the matching, to provide the modern services big and large firms need in terms of recruiting. And we, as this table indicates, there are large numbers of portals already on the web, and more. And there are other ones which I do not, which are not shown. Some of them because they are just beginning. Some of them because it's they're hard to rank. And I think it's interesting to mention that the largest ones are not in this list. The Manpower, Adecco, and Manwork, for example, which are the largest providers of employment services in the private sector, prefer to advertise the jobs through other places because it's legal to advertise vacancies. So this is an issue which has to be dealt with. But I think in the future somehow we'll come to a better solution because I think to conclude the big data technology is opening new ways and new possibilities for the labor market analysis and eventually for forecasting labor demand and skill demand, which is very essential if we want to modernize the economy. How can we make sure that the education system produces the right skills if we don't know what kind of skills we need? So somehow I think we'll come to a solution and adopt the new technology. I think there will be somehow, I hope they will be convinced soon. I mean, I'm talking about the legislators and policymakers. I hope they will be agree and come to a coherent legal setup and to something that is, I mean, legally acceptable and socially acceptable. You may ask, why is it so? Most of the main reasons there is something rejection of the private sector agencies is because they are often linked to firms that do interim employment, which in Tunisia has a bad reputation, but a lot of those interim companies have overexploited employees. And so people are rejecting agencies because they're afraid they're going to be, they may be legalized in overexploitation. But I think this could be negotiated, and hopefully there'll be a solution soon, as hopefully also Tunisia will come to a more stable situation and will be ready to address these kind of issues. And thank you very much for your attention. I don't know how much time I took, but maybe not, hopefully not too much. Thank you to all of you.
Thank you, Monji, for the presentation on the situation, the challenges, and this question on the legal framework. And now we can move from Tunisia to Kiev, where Vladimir Tsarioglu is now just waiting for his turn to present the main findings of the initial analysis of the web labor market in Ukraine. I think, Vladimir, you will be given the presenter role very quickly by my colleagues, Anna and Alessandro, and then you can start. And again, you have 10 minutes for your presentation. You have a very rich presentation, so you can put it in format, in modality presentation. And good luck. Thank you. We are waiting for your presentation now. Thank you.
Eduardo, do you see my presentation? No.
Yes, we do see your presentation. Yes, we see.
Yes, yes.
We see. Yes, yes, it's perfect.
Okay.
You can simply put it in presentation format, slide presentation format. It's better, but up to you. Thank you. You can go on, Vladimir, and thanks.
Okay, presentation format. Okay, good afternoon to everybody. Unfortunately, our main speaker was taken back, Alexander Zimbal. So I will be very short. In the first 3 slides, you can see main characteristics of our labor market. You can see that we can, as the first slide, you can see that we have about more than 16 million employed persons, and their distribution by sex, by type of area, by sectors, by regions of Ukraine. So the second slide, you can see that distribution of our employees by other characteristics, by employment status. So we have in Ukraine a relatively big informal sector, informal jobs, especially in agriculture, also in trade and repair of motor vehicles. So unfortunately, our micro enterprises with less than 10 persons or employees have partly informal jobs, and they cannot use official classifiers. So I want to say that this informal job and informal sector and our micro enterprises, the labor market don't have very reliable information about their activity and their problems. The third slide, you can see that we have also relatively a problem, let's say a problem with some overqualification, especially the last row. You can see that in some occupations, occupations we have more than 50 workers, employees that works at the less qualification workplaces. So this overqualification and is also a problem in Ukraine. If you move to our problems with websites, with vacancies, the fifth slide shows that vacancies of private online resources. This is red arrows, and the State Employment Center, these blue arrows, they aimed at several different segments of jobs. Vacancies on private online resources, they refers mainly to the not mainly, but to enterprises with less than 10 employees. When the State Employment Center website refers mainly to vacancies on enterprises with 10 plus employees. But they together together they are complementary to the full labor market by sector structure. This structure is left the left structure, you can see. So what concerns information presented at sixth slide, you can see that the sectoral structure of the labor supply in the full labor market, based on the sectors of the large job, is much less consistent than the job offer from previous slide. Simple data integration from various online sources, state and non-state and private, is not very promising for assessment. So you will have a problem we understand we will have more problems to estimate the labor supply using this information of vacancies, online information from the sites. Concerning using the internet or accessing to the internet in Ukraine, you can see the slide 7. You can see that we have more than 60% of our population who can use internet, who use internet, and this number increase. Last years, this is not too much, but the figure is not so low. Also, this slide shows that our enterprises more and more use internet to search for workers from 2014 till 2018. This rate increased to 14%, but I want to say that this percent is from enterprises which use internet in total. So we understand that these mainly are big and medium enterprises. We want to say, as it is shown the slide 8, that the State Employment Service, the State Employment Center, is a quite popular resources of job searching in the labor market as a whole, not just for those who have registered as unemployed. According to the labor force survey in 2019, the most common method of finding a job for the Ukrainian unemployed was to seek help from the State Employment Center, more than 30%. And searching through internet resources was in the ranking through the other resources. The ranking of about 15%. At the slide 9, you can see the list of our websites indicated in this landscaping stage of work. Alessandro told us that they work with this site. We want to say that unfortunately most of the online job portals are foreign in Ukraine, Italian, Russian, so on, Polish, and they are mainly secondary aggregators of Ukrainian side. Advantages of this is that collected vacancies are collected in one place. Disadvantages is that not visual. There is not visual rubrics. No industry. Often no industry professional categories, contact types, etc. Part of the vacancies are hidden, so we have to look at the mother sites. Concerning main problems, we don't have such problems as in Tunisia because our State Employment Service and our private resources, they work in the same legal frameworks, but the problem advantages of the state employment center, conformity to the profession in the vacancies, to the professional titles of the work of the Ukrainian classifier of occupations, maximum verification of information about the employer, which limits the possibility of fraud, the widest possible regional coverage, a monthly analysis of the dynamics of vacancies and summaries of occupations. But concerning the private resources, I want to say that they have more vacancies, they reflect more vacancies, but we have a problem about this problem Alessandro told us already, but I want to say that unfortunately the largest problem is not with job titles that are not listed in the classifier. So not that the titles of job is not listed in the classifiers, but that the name of this is the same, the name of the occupation of vacancies is the same as in the classifier, but the description of its contents reveals that it means a completely different category of the same occupation, of the same vacancy, or their mixture. We can see this disadvantages in our last slide. I want to say that in general, we worked with these sites, with these resources before this project, but we understood that big data is a big headache, and thanks to ETF, thanks to Alessandro, to TableX, that we hope that this very useful, very timeline data source, we hope that it will be used to improve our labor market information, to develop Ukrainian labor market intelligence, and we're very very grateful to possibility to participate in this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Vladimir, for all the detailed information you have shared. I just want to remind all participants that you, of course, have all received the links to the webpage of this webinar, in which you can obviously find all the presentations, and you also received the presentations attached to the invitations, also the 2 reports. And now we move directly then already to session 6. I think this is a very highly expected session. So Alessandro will share the screen, and Mario Mezzanzanica will start with the first case. So the first case is entirely dedicated to analysis of the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on the Italian labor market, and this is analysis based on OGV, Online Job Vacancies analysis. So this is the first case. Then the second case will be about web labor market data for education and vocational training, and that will be also a very interesting case in which another dimension of analysis is coming in. And then a final case will be briefly presented by Fabio Mercorio on digital skills and occupation. So the example of the Italian Observatory of Digital Competence. Thank you very much, Mario. Alessandro and Fabio, for sharing this important information. We are slightly now lagging behind. Nonetheless, you have 30 minutes, and please let us keep 15 minutes full for the questions and answers. The floor is yours. Over to you, Alessandro. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eduardo. Okay, Mario is here. Let me.
Yes.
Great.
Thank you, Alessandro. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, Eduardo, for inviting me at this very interesting meeting. In my talk, I would like to show you an example of analysis focused on the online job vacancy data to better understand what is the labor market situation in this very critical period for the COVID-19 pandemic event in Italy. Go on, Alessandro. Thank you. The goal is to see how the result of the analysis of the online job vacancy data can improve knowledge of this phenomena to support stakeholder or decision-making processes. First of all, thank you. First of all, it's important to know some information on the specific Italian situation caused from COVID-19. During the third decade of February, the Italian government established a lockdown all over the country. The lockdown has interested almost all business and institutions, except those belonging to essential economic sector, such as health and food. At the same time, it was established the smart working for many activity when possible. As a consequence, we can observe heavy and significant effect on the labor market over the last month, specifically massive use of layoff, massive reduction of new contracts, significant contraction of the labor market demand for almost all economic sector and profession. We can describe the actual situation as a shock that never happened before. In this situation, I think it's necessary being able to continuously observe and to deeply understand the key element of such a shock. This is crucial to support effective policy and intervention action for identify a correct way on go out of this terrible crisis. The analysis that I will present are focused on some questions. Which are the effects of the COVID-19 will have over occupation? Can we identify occupation that will suffer more the COVID effects? Are occupation effects in the same way? If not, which are the effects most? Which sector are affected more? Do territorial differences exist in the Italian COVID-19 crisis? And more, and most important, can we forecast what will happen in the future of occupation? Now I will present some synthetic data to the Italian situation. First of all, I will show two slides with indicators coming from administrative data sources, and after some analysis coming from online job vacancy data. In this slide, you can see the number of layoff hours admitted from January to April 2020, about 835 million of layoff hours. In the same period of 2019, the layoff admitted was 91 million. The percentage increased more than 100%. Data is impressive. This has never been happened before. Another important point of observation refers to new contracts observed by category and by economic sector. that are coming from administrative data source in Lombardy region. The trend between Q1 2020 and the same period 2019 for all contract typology show a value of -10%. But in March 2020 versus March 2019, we observe the real impact of pandemic crisis. All contracts decreased about 34%. The temporary contract arrived at -34.5%. The apprenticeship -40%, and the permanent -20.6%. At the same time, we can observe the high negative impact of new contract for economic sector in the right side of this slide. The first evidence is that pandemic crisis affect all economic sector and all contract category, but the category most affect are those of young people and temporary workers, especially female gender. The third, please, next slide, Alessandro. The third observations concern online job vacancy data. The trend between the first quarter of 2020 versus the first quarter of 2019 is -17%. As in the previous data, the March month data show a value of -34% compared to the same amount on 2019. I would like to remember that March is the first month of the lockdown in Italy. The most affected territory is the Northwest, where the COVID-19 crisis is greatest. For the economic sector, we can observe that only the healthcare sector, the demand for professions grows more than 150% in March 2020 versus March 2019. In the other sector are significantly decreasing, especially accommodation and food, -73%, manufacturers, -62%, travel agency, -37%, and the other sectors between 30 and 34% less. I would like, next slide please, to show some detail through a navigation path on the online job vacancy data, specifically trend of occupation within territory, within economic sector. Manager, craft and related trades workers, plant machine operator and assembler are the most decreased profession group, respectively -40%, -23%, and -22%. Other profession range between -9% of elementary occupation and -17% of technical profession. A quick consideration, other I will do later. The fall in the demand for manager is certainly due to the ongoing shock that greatly reduced strategic vision on the company. Next slide, please. Trend variation by territorial area, from macro area to regional level. Data referred to Q1 2020 versus Q1 2019. Lombardy and the Liguria region are the most affected of the pandemic crisis in the Northwest area. In the Northeast, Bolzano province decreased more, and Trento province is the only province with a positive trend in Italy. In the center, Umbria region is the more affected, and in the Sud, Calabria region, decrease of 33%. the maximum value in Italy. The trend variation by economic sector presented in this slide for the Q1 versus Q1 2019 is similar to the one presented earlier, referring to the month of March 2020. Next, please. Next, thank you very much. More interesting are the analysis of this and the next slide. In this slide, we identify the professions that have positive trend and their request in the Q1 and in the month of March. Briefly, the professions that have a positive trend are substantially those of the macro area of healthcare, for example, nursing professionals, healthcare assistants, and those related to large-scale distribution activities, cashier and ticket clerks, for example. The slide, for technical reason, presents only some profession, but the analysis refers to all the professions, about 400 of the fourth digit ESCO. Conversely, in this slide, we identify the professions that have negative trend on the request in the Q1 and in the month of March. The more critical professions are principally related to accommodation and food sector, totally closed during the lockdown period. Fast food preparers, kitchen helpers, and so on. Let's go. Thank you. To conclude, the main question is what data are telling us? The first consideration is that online job vacancy data show and provide a very short-term vision of the labor market demand. Using a metaphor, we may say we're sailing in some uncharted waters. It seemed like the COVID shock interrupt a prospective vision that vacancies have always shown. That is their ability in anticipating new real labor market demand or opportunity. Medium skill level profession, as well as weaker workers in the labor market, are the hardest hit by the COVID crisis, as young people, temporary workers, and female gender. See apprenticeship contract and fixed term contracts. The territory are all affected significantly, and some economic sectors are affected more than others. For example, tourism, trade, and industry in particular. Making prediction about the future at this moment will be a gamble, as the shock due to the crisis is without equal, and we will risk creating unrealistic scenarios. However, we can identify some key elements that are certainly important for supporting workers and stakeholders. On the one side, training activities are needed to support the reskilling and retraining of workers. On the other side, services for workers are crucial to help people in career and vocational guidance after the COVID shock. At the same time, to better identify which policies and action will be more effective, it's more and more important to have quality and updated data to monitor and catch ongoing changes. Thank you very much. That's it all.
You. Alessandro, you can go on. You can continue. Yeah, Fabio, welcome.
Yeah,
Fabio.
I continue. Yeah, thank you, Eduarda, for this webinar. Very briefly, in this use case, I will briefly show you the results since 2017 and what we have done in the Italian labor market, focusing on the let me say ICT occupation, so occupation related to ICT. Alessandro, can please you go next? Okay, so the context is that one. So in 2017, the major Italian associations for the ICT decided to build a new, how to say, a new initiative with the goal to observe, monitor, and analyze the labor market demand related to ICT occupations in Italy. So this initiative has been called Italian Observatory of Digital Competencies because the main focus was indeed on digital competencies. And those are the main unions that basically supported and granted this project. So, okay. A couple of definitions. So the idea, as I said before, is to have a way focusing on online job vacancies that is a part of this observatory, focusing on online job vacancies to observe the importance of digital skills within occupations, but also soft skills within occupation. And of course, in turn, even the non-digital skills within occupation. So these 3 skills degree give you the estimation of the importance and so the incidence of each of them within occupations. And this is mainly composing the skill rate, while the skill relevance gives you an estimate of the importance of that skill within each occupation. So we started working on this project since 2017. It's still ongoing, and perhaps we can move on the next slide, Alessandro. Okay, so what you can do, of course, as you perhaps already know, with online job vacancies, you may decide the granularity of the information from the finer one to the grainer one. In this example, we show you that you may observe how ICT occupations and also sectors mainly related to, again, ICT is moving across other sectors. That is, in this case, manufacturing, services, and commerce. So in this way, since we started in 2017, you can observe a sort of change in those years, in those 3 years. Between the digital pervasiveness in 2017 to now, and you can observe across sectors. Of course, you can okay, Alessandro. Of course, you can go more, and for example, you can observe in terms these variations in terms of both number of vacancies as requested. So this is the x-axis of the figure you are observing, and the variation of the digital skill degree. So the number of digital, not the number, sorry, the importance and the relevance of digital skills that is on the vertical axis. So this means that the upper right occupation, that is human resources, are the occupations that that changed more in terms of both number of vacancies asked and the digitalization that has grown since 2017 to 2019, and so further, of course. So the lower left means there is a very, very small variation. This is in the manufacturing sector, but you can observe in any other sector. Still, again, you can observe the professions focusing on the well-known ESCO taxonomy. So here you may observe which is the composition in terms of digital skill, soft skill, hard and non-digital skill, and the variation with respect to 2014 for mathematician in the manufacturing sector. So you can also observe within sectors an occupation. Like in this case, you can observe that the digitalization for those professionals. Please, Alessandro. As said within the slide, you can go further in the granularity, focusing within occupations to better understand which kind of digital skills we are discussing. Because not all digital skills, let me say, are digital in the same way, because we use this taxonomy to indicate that there are some skills related to basic informatics skills that are let me say, basic tools used for digitalization, but there are also apply and management skills like tools and software to manage operational decisional process and so on. So there are different degrees of digital skills, and you may observe how those 4 kinds of digital skills change within occupation. So this means that even though the digital skill degree it's the same, within this digital skill degree, you may have many differences that rely basically on the task and the job that each occupation has to do. Like in this case, for graphic and multimedia designer, apply more the information brokerage skills with respect to industrial and management engineers, for which applied and management skills accounts more. Please, Alessandro. The finest granularity level is the elementary skill. So this means that you can observe the relevance of each skill, singular skill, classified over ESCO-pillar within occupation, along with its relevance within occupation. Again, focusing on the same profession as before, you may observe for graphic and multimedia designers that the skills, the 4 levels of skills we discussed before, can vary a lot in terms of relevancies for each skill. For example, as one may expect, the front-end website implementation accounts more with respect to web programming and with respect to the usage of a database, not the development of the database, but the usage of a database. So this is the finest, the finest level of granularity. Please, Alessandro. So since 2000, this edition, basically, the observatory is online. It can be browsed and is also quarterly updated with new information and also articles that allows people describing and interpretate the results of the new trimester. So if you want, you can go on the website and navigating the skills, navigating the occupation, navigating dashboards to better understand how it works and how it has been, and what the use of online job vacancies allow for monitoring a real-time labor market. That's all from me. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Eduardo, again.
Thank you, Fabio, very much for this presentation and for pointing to the degrees of granularity that are possible in this with this analysis. This is particularly important, of course, for companies, but also for education and training systems. Thank you. Alessandro, now you have the last case, and I think it will be also a very interesting one. Thank you very much. Let's say you have 10 minutes, not more, please. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you, Eduardo, again. And in this last use case, I will present you how to use web data to support universities and training providers. And I will present you a product that currently we are developing for Italian universities called Wally Edu. What's the context? Several Italian universities called us, thanks to our experience in web labor market, asking us if those data could help have them offering the best, the most efficient course degrees or training courses for their students to help those students achieve a successful career. And so we started Wally Edu, an educational platform that aim to help university comparing online demand with their courses. How? From a side, with the same data that me, Fabio, Mauro, and also during the ETF dashboard I showed you. But comparing them with what? With some documents that each university have to send to the Italian educational minister every time a university want to offer a new course degree or to review a course degree structure. So the goal of this document is to present to the Italian educational minister and also to students that want to read this document, the course objective, the course content, so the syllabus, we can say, the potential upcoming occupation and other information. We used those documents, we analyzed them, something like we can see them, something like a big Online Job Vacancy with several occupations, several sectors, and so on. And so we said, okay, we have those kind of information. Can we compare to the real labor demand? And that's how started the born Wally Edu. So what you can do with this kind of project, I will present you one of our instances. That's Wally Edu for the University of Padua. It's one of the ancient university in the world. More than, we are near to 800 years for this university. So what you can do, you can select a course, one of the 70 courses that the university is offering, and then a set of dashboard of slides will be shown you. The first can give you the overall Online Job Vacancy trend in the last year for occupations related to that specific course degree. So in this case, business administration. But what do we mean with related occupation? We can see them in the next slide with the detail of specific occupation with respect to ESCO classification. So we're talking about the same data that I shown you before, the ETF dashboard. So I have selected the most relevant occupation, most relevant with the course degree, and we have analyzed this sub-sector with sub-area of labor market demand in terms, as we see, of time, of occupation, but also of job experience and contracts, the same dimension that we showed you before. But above all, also skills, of course. This is the way that we found to expose skills to the university. In this chart, you can see for each market term, so for each occupation, you can see a bar composed by three sections. The red one on the left is the percentage of impact of hard skills in the labor market demand for the specific occupation. The center is related to the soft skill percentage, and the right section is related to the digital skills percentage. So as we can see, in this case, we are talking about occupation with a good, a high average of hard skill and soft skills. But which kind of skills are requested? Do I need to train better my students to learn to create a specific degree to teach specific hard competencies in business administration? We can see it. We can click on the specific section, so the specific skill type for the specific occupation, and the system will give us elementary skills sorted by relevance, the same skill relevance that Fabio showed you in the example of the Italian Observatory for Digital Competencies. So how university are using those data? They're using this system in two ways. The first one is students understand which kind of job they could find in terms of occupation, in terms of place, in terms also of type of contract and why not rogue salary range. So this is the use case of a career service, of placement offices for universities or for training providers. And on the other end, universities are using this system to support departments updating and reviewing their courses. How? Integrating competencies, graduating or renewing some courses to learn, for instance, some specific competencies, but also to prepare their students to have soft skills that are needed, that are explicitly requested by labor market demand. So I wanted to be very brief to let you time to give us all your questions. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, colleagues, Mario, Fabio, and Alessandro, for sharing with us these three cases based on Italian data. And of course, these cases, this analysis is possible because you have been working already for a number of years and you have data series, you have enough data showing that you can then use to show trends and go into this very fine-grained analysis, for example, of skills. I would like now then to say that we have now time for the discussion and for questions and answers. So I see that colleagues have been actively writing down in the chat box comments, some questions, some very technical questions are also there. So now we have this final 15-20 minutes for this discussion. I think Sylvia or Anna, I don't know if you would like already to share the presentation with the most important questions that have been suggested, proposed by our participants. This will be very useful to guide now this last session. Of course, let us first focus on these questions, and if we still have time, participants, you can also formulate any comments live and show yourselves. Anna, Sylvia, thank you. You can start showing the questions you have collected.
Thank you. So this is the first question we received on session 2.
So the question is, let me just briefly read. What kind of approaches did you use when you analyzed the skills in vacancies? This is always a very highly a question that raises a lot of interest. So how are the skills identified, read, categorized, classified out of the texts, very disparate texts of the online job vacancies? Then and all heterogeneous should be summarized in key characteristics. How to prepare skills data for modeling? What characteristics did you use in their description and labeling? So this is a question related more to the presentations of sessions 2 and 3, not so much 2. So yes, 2 and 3. That's correct. So I don't know if Alessandro, would you like to give a short reply on this?
Yeah, of course.
You have already, but please, if you could focus again on this point, because this is the point that always interests everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, I understand, and that's good, of course. So thanks for the question. Skills identification is a really hard challenge. Currently, also regarding, for instance, emerging skills and so on. So what's our methodology? Our systems are trained and developed to read the description of a vacancy, trying to find some terms that can be referred to skills contained in ESCO taxonomy. So what we made, First of all, we manually classified our system. So with other experts, we classified several thousands of online job vacancies, trying to identify which terms was referring to skills in descriptions. And then we trained our system to understand which portion of the online job vacancy description was referring to skills, and then trying to link them to ESCO taxonomy, enhancing this taxonomy. So finding with several artificial intelligence techniques, enhancing and finding similarities, similar terms to skill. We also added several other taxonomies on our skills to identify some specific skills such as financial skills, ICT, technical skills, and so on. And how to summarize those data? It's another big challenge. When I talk about ESCO taxonomy, I'm talking about more than 10,000 skills, unique skills classified. So in this case, how we can summarize them? There are several ways to summarize. We are using, as you've seen in our examples, classification of skills in terms of technical skills, digital skills, hard, soft, and so on. And talking about digital skills, we classified them in the proper family of digital skill, as Fabio showed you. Currently, ESCO is working on a hierarchy. We are also working on it, on an internal hierarchy that is trying to summarize digital skills and other skills, trying to give you a summarized view where you can navigate through skills, something like we are navigating through occupation. So with a hierarchy starting from 3 or 4 main families and going down to the specific skill. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for this first response. Now the next, okay. That's, you see the question. Yes, how much are private agencies interested to provide information on OJVs for analysis? So meaning the online job vacancy portals, private.
Am I supposed to answer?
No, I think this would be a question again to Alessandro, unless question. This is a question that is now here related with Tunisia, but I don't know. Perhaps Alessandro could give just like a generic reply.
Yeah, to methodology. We tried to find several ways to take data from private agencies. The first way was to find an agreement with them, maybe using the argumenting with saying, okay, this is for a public utility goal, so we will not use your data, sell it in a granular way, so we will not resell your online job vacancies and so on. Some portals, some private agencies allowed us to take their data, but it's not possible with all of them, also because many agencies does not answer us. So in that case, we use a simple technique. We can say what you can see on a website can be saved. So our system emulates the browsing on the web on private agencies, but instead of showing the knowledge of vacancy on a monitor, on my laptop, it will save the content of the page in terms of textual content and technical content of the web page on a specific database. So we are emulating navigation, we are connecting to the specific source and downloading their data. Currently, this is possible in terms of techniques, but also in legal terms, because we are talking about public data. We are not downloading private data, closed access data, and so on. And also because we are not reselling those data, but we are making analysis on those data. Of course, we are trying to, as I said before, to keep a polite approach. So we are collecting those data by night. We are waiting from we have several sleeps time during our download phase to avoid create issues to their website, because we know that we are having a massive operation of website. But it's legal, it's possible, and we are trying to make all the best to avoid generate problem to those sources, because we need their data, so we don't want to break them down. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this response. And next, please, Sylvia or Anna. Next questions. So this is another question from Masuma, Azerbaijan. Masuma, the question then is addressed to labor market Ukraine. So it is a question to Vladimir. Vladimir, would you like to give a response? And you can also find the question in Russian in the chat box. So if you compare private and public online job vacancies portal, what is the ratio or the share of vacancies that require highly skilled within the universe of private and the PES, so the Public Employment Agency? This is a question for Vladimir.
I see, but
if Alessandro would like, yes.
I think that
no, you don't need to go into details, but just to give an impression. So if you compare both public and private, which one of them has the highest, let's say, ratio of vacancies requiring highly skilled labor?
No, the second question, we didn't compare it, the quality of parameters of vacancies.
You can respond.
Did you do you hear? Yes. But what is the ratio? The ratio requiring highly skilled work. Mm-hmm.
The idea is to compare you mentioned it in your presentation, so different segments of the labor market. And perhaps if Alessandro wants to say a word also on this question, but let's start with Vladimir.
Okay.
Just an overall impression from the analysis you did.
But I don't understand right the first question, to be honest.
Okay.
When I use the Russian?
The Russian is available in the chat box.
Chat box. Mm-hmm.
If you look at Masuma Mamedova,
yes.
каково соотношение вакансий, требующих высококвалифицированный труд в службах занятости и в частных агентствах?
Я сейчас не могу сказать. Давайте мы ответим попозже, уважаемый.
Хорошо. Отлично.
Хорошо?
Хорошо.
Да.
Хорошо, отлично. Thank you very much. Sylvia, would you like to move to the next question? This question will be discussed later. Thank you. So here you have two questions on the first case. As you all remember, the first case provided an analysis of the effects of the coronavirus pandemic in the Italian labor market using OGV analysis. Mario?
Okay, data from contract typology are from Lombardy. The other data are from Italy, all from Italy. Okay. The second question is very hard, but as I said before, we are facing an unpredictable shock, and the forecast model would therefore be unreliable. And we don't know how the structure of the labor market will change in the long term. Of course, will change, but we don't know how. But I think that some trajectories of change will be emphasized, especially the development of digital skill, the importance of digital skill for all occupations, as Fabio showed before. So it's very important in this moment to analyze and have data from digital skill, because they can help different stakeholders and policy makers to identify which skills are important for each occupation. It's important to support workers on reskilling and support and identify vocational educational training activity or education activity that needs to improve from digital skill. And this is the last consideration, is that to monitor this skill, the evolution of the skill, it's very important to reduce mismatch between demand and offers.
Okay, thank you very much for this response to a very, let's say, strategic, important question that is asked here by Monji Boursala on the medium-term, let's say, effects. Since you mentioned something very fundamental, that we don't know how the labor market will recover and react after the pandemic, this shock. And you mentioned the importance of digital skills and the need to monitor and evolve. Probably there can be other dimensions of analysis on this, on the recovery and reaction related with occupations and sectors. Will things go back to the previous situation, or will there be lasting effects, as Monji is asking in his question? There were other questions asked, and I see that my colleagues, Sylvia, have already brought us to the last slide. We are just 3 minutes over 16. Is it okay if we stay another 5 minutes to reply to all questions? So there are other questions here in the chat box. So let me, for example, mention questions asked by our new participant, Mirzoyan from Armenia. The questions such as, for example, how are the skills classified into aggregated technical, digital, and soft skills? Perhaps, okay, there was a short reply given by Fabio, but would it be okay, Fabio, to give a reply a bit more comprehensive to everybody, since this seems to be an important question?
Yes, for sure. So the idea, as I said, is to exploit the taxonomy, the target taxonomy that in our case, in terms of skills, is ESCO, to identify which are the soft skills, digital skills, and so non-digital skills. Of course, this taxonomy is also evolving. So in our observatory, we join both, that is the taxonomy and ESCO, and an internal taxonomy we developed to better characterize digital skills, as in the case you have seen in the slides, that is the lower, brokerage information skill, informatics skills, and so on. So the last taxonomy I showed you has been improved by us to better explain which is a digital skill. So the short answer is you have to rely on both the taxonomy of the target taxonomy and an internal taxonomy to better specify which are the skills you are more interested in classifying.
Okay, thank you very much. And if you don't mind, I have a question. You may like to leave it for the next webinar. And the question is the following. From all the discussion analysis that is being done in this project related to the web labor market of the two markets of the two countries, what could be a couple of recommendations that perhaps could be discussed afterwards with the national authorities and with statistical departments as well, regarding some improvement of some of the perhaps weak points of the data as it is presented, as it is described in many of the online job vacancies. We heard about weaknesses regarding titles of occupations, regarding, let's say, very different descriptions of occupations that have nothing to do with the existing classifiers. So a sort of incoherence in terms of the date of the online job vacancy descriptions text. So would it be an outcome of this project, a couple of recommendations in this direction for all these agencies, so that perhaps some coherent approaches can be recommended and used? We know that in the European Union, this work is already being done through EURES and linking, for example, ESCO and EURES. So I don't know if this could be also part of the recommendations and concerns for all of you interested in online job vacancies and in the coherence and quality of the information provided in these advertisements. If any of you, Fabio, Mario, would like to, Alessandro would like to say anything about this, or any of the colleagues representing public employment services among the participants, please, you have now a moment to express some additional comments, ideas. If any of you would like to come on live and ask or suggest anything, including on the question I've just asked. So if nobody is now courageous to come in, then we can just conclude our webinar. And so just let me start a very short overview, and I will pass then the floor to Mario, Alessandro, Fabio for some concluding remarks from their side, and obviously also to Xavier Mateu from ETF, also for concluding any concluding remarks or comments you would like to share with us here. So let me first of all say thank you very much, all of you, for staying attentive and interested throughout these 2 hours. I think this was a very intensive knowledge and experience sharing webinar. Work, as you know, is in progress. But we wanted, of course, already to invite you, to keep you informed and involved in the activities that are now underway. Our work will continue, and in July we will have more progress to share, and hopefully then we can have a multilingual webinar, and then we can also invite the stakeholders from Tunisia and other countries as well. So the first release, data release, based on a completely updated, so real-time data set will be possible then early July. We will still talk and discuss this better with the team. Of course, in the future, in the next months, we will engage much more with the country's policy institutions, ministries of labor, public employment services, and other relevant institutions, statistical departments, since we always tried to make them part of this discussion on new, innovative data sources, analysis, and techniques, and of course with national researchers. And now, Mario, Alessandro, Fabio, 1 minute for your last final words, if you would like. And then Xavier, if you also would like to share your final remarks. Thank you very much. We will be in touch. Please use the information already shared through the web page of this webinar. You have it, you have the link, as well as in the web page of the previous training workshop that took place in November. Thank you very much, everybody. Stay safe, stay well, and we continue working together. Thank you very much, all colleagues of the experts team, for your contribution and for your insights. Thank you.
Thank you, Eduardo.
So, please go ahead, Fabio, Mario, Alessandro, one of you, if you want to share your final reflections before we conclude today.
If I can say only a couple of words, then I will take the mic to Mario and Fabio. On behalf of me, the Tables team, Fabio, Mario, the CRISP, and so on, thank you very much to all for this great opportunity. I hope we will meet maybe the next month. And most of all, I want to publicly thank Eduarda for her great and constant commitment in this really difficult period. We know that's a difficult period for all of us, especially for you. And so, thank you very much.
Thank you. We wish Milan a very quick recovery from the terrible, devastating pandemic. If you want still to say any additional remark, also any colleague, any participant, please, you can come in and say a comment or question. And if Xavier is there, you are also welcome to share any final thoughts with everybody before we close.
Eduarda, can I
please
make...
You can all show yourselves. If you like, we take a screenshot. You can open your cameras, all participants, so we show we see your faces, and we take a screenshot. Thank you. You all look beautiful, don't worry. Nice, great, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Silvia, Alina, and Alessandro for all your contribution. I see that Franca is also there, that's great. And so who would like then to say a final word before we conclude? If Alessandro,
Eduarda?
Yes.
Eduardo, can I just say a very quick word from our team, employment team in ETF, of which you are, of course, a prominent member. I just want to thank all the participants and to thank you for organizing this very informative event. I think we are all struggling also in ETF, but in the international organization and in countries, understanding what are the new skills needs. in the different sectors, in the different countries, in the different regions. And I think that this example of big data really gives us a clear indication that we can learn more, but we need to be very systematic and we need to really work toward collection of information that comes regularly. And I'm really impressed by the findings that our colleagues from Milano presented us today. We have a new activity in ETF, which is called Skills Lab. Our intention is to generate new information on emerging skills needs. And I think that the example given today is really a great example. So thanks to all of you, and especially thanks to you, Eduarda, for this excellent initiative.
Thank you, everybody. So I think that Xavier is not there. I just wanted Xavier, who is our head of Knowledge Hub, to say a few words. But we keep in touch. And again, best wishes to all of you. It was really good to see you all again. Thank you very much. Goodbye. See you in July. Oh. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, colleagues.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Goodbye.
Best.
Bye, everybody.
Esto.
Thank you.